Blue sky strategy. Today I'm going to use some PowerPoints to just convey the message home, and I'll start with a chessboard. The conventional industry, business as we know it, to a very large extent, compares with a game of chess, except that in the game of chess, perhaps we start with equal number of players, equal number of chessmen. But in conventional business, we keep focusing on the moves made, we call them strategic moves, by the other player, by the opponent. So we keep on thinking how we can bring them down. To win the game of chess, you have to capture the opponent king, the king of the other side. And you have to continually focus on what the opponent is doing. So we call it market intelligence. You steal information, you keep checking what new thing they are doing, and you try to do the same thing in your own business. Now, there's also an assumption that if you are born a pawn, you'll die a pawn. You can't change to be a king or a castle or a queen. So if you're born a pawn, if you're an SME, for instance, you can't dare confront the big players, the big boys. Fate has sealed you where you belong. And that's the concept of conventional marketing. And then, of course, the size of the chessboard does not change, which implies the size of the market does not change. So the focus is increasing the market share, because we don't think how we can enlarge the chessboard. This is the conventional marketing approach. And fortunately, what it has produced is what I call the cutthroat competition. And I don't know whether you're here tonight and you're in a cutthroat industry. If you're in banking, if you're in media, if you're in insurance, you're in telecommunications, oil and gas, if you're in beauty, if you're in restaurants in Kenya, if you're in boutique, clothing industry, textiles, if you're in soft drinks or even the hard drinks, if you're in food industry, if you're in paper, cotton manufacturers, flour exporters, then in all likelihood, you're in a cutthroat industry. You're competing for a very small space. And you've seen this severally. And what this has happened is that it has produced bloody wars in the industry. And the real question I want to ask you tonight, who is the real enemy? Is it possible we've been projecting to the wrong enemy? Have you tried to think who you're fighting for? Is it possible? We are all looking for the same thing in life. We want to take our children to good schools. We want to go for holidays. We want to be able to take some off without affecting our income. We want perhaps to live in good neighborhood. We want good clothes, good food. Is it possible that perhaps we have not projected to the real enemy? And the second question I want to ask you, can we enlarge the market size? Is the market size constant? Must it remain the same way? Must we fight over the same space? And the reason I'm asking this, I found two interesting warriors. One of them is Napoleon Hill. And on your screen, you must not fight too often with one enemy, or you will teach all your art of war. And the other one is Sun Tzu. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Is it possible to win a battle without necessarily engaging in a fight? These are the questions I want us to answer tonight. Let me admit humbly, I'm not the first person to answer these questions. Many have attempted in the past. One of the most popular strategies is what we call the blue ocean strategies. And the attempt was again to deal with this competition. How do we render competition irrelevant? I have personally taught this strategy called blue ocean to a different number of companies. It was first launched the year 2004. And I want to explain this concept in a simple term. You know, in ancient days, there used to be a lot of wars. Whenever enemy forces would try to attack another nation, they would be confronted. The invading force would be confronted by the defending forces near the seashore. So there used to be a lot of bloodshed near the seashore, horses' blood, human blood. So the waters would get bloody near the seashore, if you like. Deep in the sea, the waters were still clear. They were uncontaminated, not touched by the blood. The whole concept of blue ocean, you know the reason they were fighting near the seashore, because it was easier to fight here. It was much difficult to fight in the deep blue sea. So there were many players here. So the word here is bloody with competition So you beg for reader attention because you're lost in numbers. You're lost in crowds. You're looking to be recognized, even to be noticed. So the red ocean concept is competing the existing market space. And consequently, it's slow, or the growth is stagnant, or you're not making any progress. The idea was to explore the uncontested space, the blue space, because it is vast. Approximately 70.8% of the Earth's surface is the oceans, is the waters. So we are here fighting for 29.2% of the space. And the whole idea was, could we explore deeper into the seas? And here we take a unique approach and stand out from the rest. We are free from competition because the space is adequate. If you have ever cruised in the high seas, and we did with some people here, when you're in the high seas, the space is too much. You can't tell east or west. You have to depend on navigation. And now you capture a new demand. This is the concept of blue ocean. And I think it's a very progressive concept. It has been used by a lot of industries, which of course then begs the question tonight, then why should I propose a new strategy if something is already existing? So I labored to give you some differences between what we call the blue ocean and what I'm proposing tonight, blue sky strategy. I'll give you a few differences between what has been there and what I'm proposing. Now, first of all, blue ocean focuses on large organizations. Blue sky is focusing both on individuals and commercial organizations. As a result, then number two, blue ocean focuses on skills, while blue sky focuses both on skills and gifts. This takes us to that difference. The third difference is that blue ocean focuses on large commercial corporations, but blue sky both startups and large commercial corporations. You see, small boats cannot get into the deep blue sea. They can't survive there. But even small planes can go beyond the gray sky. They can fly beyond the clouds. So this strategy focuses both on startups and commercial organization. Number four, blue ocean focuses mainly on innovation. And so the center word, the key word here is products. But what I'm proposing here are 3 P's: products, processes, and partnerships. And I'll diverge into details on the same. I'll delve into that into details. And number 5, blue ocean focuses on rendering competition irrelevant by creating new demand. And that's a very progressive concept, especially for marketers. What I'm proposing here tonight at the blue sky strategy is how to exploit both individual and corporate potential. Let me repeat. Blue ocean focuses on rendering competition irrelevant by creating new demand. Blue sky focuses on exploiting both the individual and the corporate potential. Now, the goal here is profitability, and that's our 6th difference. The goal here is to address a need, an existing need, to find meaning and fulfillment by satisfying an existing need. The goal here is profitability. This brings me to the final difference between these two. In blue ocean, we are going to focus mainly on the marketing of the organization, the marketing arm, while blue sky focuses on the entire business model. Those are the major differences that we have with the two. You know, in education, we keep on building on existing knowledge. No idea is a standalone. So we are going to build on that concept. That's why tonight's lesson is a little bit technical. It's not very inspirational for those of you who've been coming for our inspirational talks. And this is one major reason I chose to use PowerPoints. For those who are keen with their marketing strategies, for those who are keen with their product development and rollout, for those who are keen with their strategy formulation and implementation, this then is your meeting. You're going to find the discussion quite relevant. I'd like us to think critically about this term, competition, and who we are competing with. Because we are a very competitive world by nature. We take children to class and they begin to compete from the first day. Why? Because we reward the top child in academics. Sometimes I've seen children, and I have a couple of examples. People write to me emails on a daily basis. Their kids who have committed suicide because they didn't perform as they expected. They didn't acquire their father's dream grade. And guess what? They were fearing to be reprimanded by the same parents who purport to love them. Now, we are now in a very interesting season of World Cup, and I think you must have watched this game between Colombia and England. For those of you who've been following this cap. And while entertainment is primarily, sports are primary for entertainment, and number 2, to bring our humanity together, sometimes they get bloody. Now, the two boys who missed the goals when they were doing penalty time with England, when they lost 3-4, are already receiving death threats. I think you've heard that. And you know this is not a joke, because this young man, Adris Escobar, was killed on 2nd of July, 1994, after Colombia lost to USA in the FIFA World Cup of 1994 because of own goals, calling own goal. He reached home and he was brought down. And so these two young men, as we talk, who are unable to score, are not sure whether to go back home. Now, this was supposed to be something to entertain the world and to bring humans together, to destroy our hostilities and conflicts. But because of the competition in games, now it has become a bloody story. I mean, there's no brotherhood in murder. There's no entertainment in murder. But we even compete on things we have no control over. Tell me, how much control do you have over your height? Have you ever thought about that? Don't you think this is a very unfair game? What should pygmies do? Why can't we come with beauty contests for different parameters, so that the pygmies, we can also identify who is doing well? Maybe we should change from rewarding beauty to rewarding grooming and smartness. I don't know. But this could be the reason why Albert Einstein said everyone is a genius, but if you're going to judge the smartness of a fish by its ability to climb a tree, then it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. Look at that. What a dumb teacher here. Look at this examiner believing that this is a fair game. Is this fair game when you have a fish here, and a monkey, and a bird, and an elephant, and the exam is the same, climbing the tree? And this is what I mean. When we look at the entire market, and all of us have to play in the same game, using the same rule, then you may believe that you're not wired for business. You don't have the material for business or for making it in life. Is it possible that the top sprinter may be a dismal failure in marathon? Is it possible? So what I want to ask you tonight, have you identified your set of gifts? Because perhaps you're better in the water, and another one is better in climbing. Of course, in this particular game, this fellow here, can you see this fellow here? He's going to be number one. In the game is climbing trees. And the question is, have you identified your set of gifts? That which makes you unique. That will be one of the things I want you to explore tonight as we think about blue sky. I'll give you 3 ideas to explain the concept of blue sky. And the first idea is that of an economic ecosystem. I'm not sure whether in the jungle animals can ever agree, but I have seen sometimes even lions bringing down a buffalo and they can't even eat a quarter of it, but they're chasing away the other carnivores. I'm not sure whether they can ever agree on a balanced ecosystem. But this has worked among human beings. We have economic blocks. I think the most successful one is the EU. Today, the entire Europe, with the exception of UK, you use one visa, the Schengen visa. They have opened their boundaries literally. Not just for the travel of goods, but even the travel of people. There's not a single border will be questioned when you're moving from one country to another. I honestly believe history will prove David Cameron right. I honestly believe Brexit proves that Britain is still basking in history. They are still believing, because they were the first nation to industrialize, that they can isolate themselves. We have said here many times, isolation leads to termination. There is synergy when we come together, and it has worked for the EU. They are using one currency, different economies. Tanzania has been afraid of using one East African currency. They've been afraid of Kenya. But major economies like Germany and France and Italy and Spain, it has proved that it is in their interest even to protect their smaller economies like Czech and Poland and others. And now the question I'm asking you tonight, is it possible for you to sit down and say, we are going to create an ecosystem whereby there's a lawyer in our midst, and nobody here, if you have any land issue, will be attended by another lawyer. We'll be buying from a specific supermarket because this guy is part of our ecosystem. We'll be buying from a certain butchery, from a certain boutique. We'll be taking our children to a specific school because this is a member of our ecosystem. Is it possible that there's an insurance agent in this ecosystem, there's a dentist in this ecosystem that will not be subjected to competitive bidding because we are supporting each other? And this kind of a system works when you seek what to give, not what to receive. It's Napoleon Hill who said, You can have whatever you want in life if you just help enough people get what they want. An idea that was popularized by Zig Ziglar. You know, this ecosystem collapses when you're always looking what is in for me rather than what you're giving. And if everybody is faithful within this ecosystem, then you stop competing with each other and you begin completing each other and complementing with each other. The second idea of blue sky, I'm calling it become a permanent consultant. The same way you have perhaps a family lawyer or a family dentist or a family gynae. Is it possible for us as a family to have a general insurance provider, our own family banker, our own family, say, grocery supplier, and we are committed to this person? Even sometimes their prices may be slightly higher than the norm, but we are willing to support them because they never disappoint. They are never subjected to competitive bidding. I've worked like this with a couple of organizations. For a couple of years, there are some organizations that never go through competitive bidding. What I'm teaching tonight is not theoretical. They know when they have a certain assignment, I'm a phone call away, they'll drop an email, and the only thing we do is to discuss about the schedule, not whether. It's about the schedule. And I suggest that each one of you can reach a point where you're never subjected to competitive bidding because you never disappoint. You're predictable. Not in a bad way, not in a monotonous way, but in terms of your quality, in terms of delivery, in terms of your standards. You respect yourself enough that you cannot let down your customers. Now, the third concept I want to propose tonight is whereby now we graduate from customer satisfaction to what I'm calling customer experience. In 2012, they did a survey in the US among the customers and employees of Mercedes-Benz company. Now, the one for employees shocked the then CEO, Stephen Cannon. He found out that 75% of his employees had never driven a Benz in their lifetime. They were selling a product they did not appreciate, a product they had never consumed. So he spent $4 million and bought 750 Mercedes-Benz for frontline employees. And then he said, we've got to move from customer satisfaction to customer experience. In fact, his conviction was this: customer satisfaction must be preceded by customer experience. I want to ask you this: do you believe in what you sell? Are you a consumer of what you sell? While this may sound strange with you, I listen to my own videos than any other speaker. No doubt, I listen to other people because that's the only time I learn. If I keep listening to myself, I don't learn anything new. But when I'm looking for real inspiration, I listen to the same videos you listen. I listen to my own videos. I ask you today, if you're selling me that personal insurance cover, do you have one? Do you believe in what you're selling? That's the real question here. And I want to propose we graduate now from customer experience to customer partnership. This is the concept of blue sky strategy. How can we build lifelong partnerships with our customers? They no longer see us as people who are trying to sell a commodity to us, forcing something down our throat, but they see us as their partners. We are one with them. I'm going to integrate 3 analogies as I try to explain this concept. It's a 5-level concept, a 5-level strategy. And I'm going to draw analogy from mountaineering, military, and flight. But I'll use much more flight. And the very first level, I'll call it the ground level. And as you can see, there are too many settlements down here. The farther you go up, the less the settlements. When you're at the ground level, you have to be packed by others. There's no enough space for you to stay the way you want. Someone has to organize you because there's only so much space. It's limited. At the ground level, this is where a majority of the people are. The overwhelming majority of people never start anything. It is not that they started something and failed. They simply don't start anything. I honestly believe a poor idea implemented has a higher chance of success than the best idea not implemented. In fact, let me dare say this. If you have such a fantastic, glorious, groundbreaking idea and you're in this meeting listening to me, you are better off you leave this hall. You're better off you stop acquiring more knowledge and implement that idea than continue acquiring more and more knowledge for knowledge's sake. Because no idea comes fully formed. Ideas get clear as you start implementing them. Unfortunately, most of us want ideas fully baked, fully cooked. By who? I'm going to give you some features just to find out whether you're at the ground level. Just check whether you're at the ground level. And the first feature is the fear of failure. There could be many reasons why people do not start ideas. But I believe the primary barrier why we never start anything is ourselves. There's an African proverb that says, "It is no enemy within. The enemy without will do us no harm." And many of us fear failing. We fear being profiled as failures. When do you think you will not fail? If you have been following me for the last 2 or 3 years, I guarantee you'll be successful. And you're already successful. And I've seen a lot of us here succeeding. And I'm not concerned that you'll be successful. I'm concerned that you're going to fail from time to time. Only God gets it right the first time. Everything God created, He said it's good, it's perfect. You and me will never get it right the very first time. When do you think you'll not fail? I think it's very safe for the ship to be at the dock, but they were never made for the dock. They were made to lose sight and get into the seashore. It is very safe for the planes to be at the airport, but if they continue there, they will rust away. Why should you rot at the parking lot? Why should you waste away at the parking lot? Because the gist of a gift is to unpack it. If you don't unpack a gift, you will waste it away. So I challenge you today, either way, you will flop from time to time. Do not allow failure to keep you grounded. Number 2, fear of rejection. There are a lot of people who fear going to a customer just in case the customer does not agree to buy the product. Then you think the customer has rejected you. You don't see it as a rejection of the product or perhaps the timing of the sale. There are some people who never go to their boss to pitch an idea because they fear the boss is going to reject them. They think it's a personal rejection and rejection hurts. They don't see like perhaps the boss has not agreed to this idea at this particular point in time. There are even men who cannot approach a cute girl in fear of rejection. And if you're a bachelor listening to me, from today henceforth, begin to realize that she's just not buying your vision. She's not rejecting you. She may buy another vision or your vision later on when you refine it more. There are some people who definitely cannot even go for an interview or even apply for a certain job because they fear to be turned down. The fear of rejection keeps a lot of people down. You have inhibitions. You can't go downtown. You fear that people are not going to accept you. You can't knock doors to sell yourself. You can't start a meeting just in case they don't turn up. The fear of rejection is real. Now, the fear of the unknown. In his book, The End of Stress, Don Joseph Gowie argues that 85% of the things we fear never happen. You know, there was a soldier that was captured, a true story. And the captain of the enemy forces said, "You're the only POW, prisoner of war. I want to give you an opportunity either tomorrow morning after breakfast to go through that door or to face the firing squad. The choice is in your hands." After breakfast the following morning, the captain asked the soldier, "What did you decide?" And the captured soldier said, "I want to face the firing squad." As soon as the dust had settled on his dead body, the secretary of the captain asked the captain one question: "What is beyond that door?" And the captain answered in one word: freedom. Freedom. Most of us fear the hell we know than the heaven we do not know. We fear the suffering, the hostility. We prefer even the anguish, the poverty, the lack, the misery that we know than the promised heaven. What keeps us grounded? Conformity to patterns. We prefer the tested waters. I want to tell you tonight, every great leader was first resented before they were revered. Every great revolutionary was first condemned, persecuted before they were celebrated. Believe me, there would still be apartheid in South Africa today if Mandela was not first rejected. Barack Obama would not have been the president of the US hadn't Martin Luther King Jr. been rejected first. In fact, the same church that ordained him had threatened to excommunicate him. There is no way you're going to walk the journey of greatness unless you're willing to upset the state of equilibrium. the status quo. Number 5, why do we stay at the ground level? We don't think we can make a significant difference. Most of us believe there are those people who actually make a difference. They are out there. They are more gifted than we are. They are more endowed than we are. They are more driven than us. And because we are not as gifted as they are, we give up on great goals and settle for something less than we were designed. We don't think we are the type that can make a difference. Now, for every level I'm going to discuss with you, I'll give you some tactics. Remember, in every war, we have battlefronts. For every battlefront, we use tactics, and the entire war is a strategy. So the tactics I'm going to share here, number 1, pack your life-saving gear. And by that I mean, gather market intelligence with a sense of military urgency. Begin to see the ground level as a military camp, a military base, a military complex, where you begin to gather information. The information you gather is what informs you of your next move, your next course of action. And you do that right at the ground level. That's the time you try to find out what you need for the journey. You don't start the journey without knowing the details. Get to know the regulations in the industry you want to go in, the standards, any policies that exist. Who are the players? What is the market size? Gather market intelligence. Tactic number 2. Win at the design stage. Win at the design stage. Every battle is won at the design stage. You know, in World War II, even after the fall of Adolf Hitler of Germany, Japan would still have been a very stubborn force to deal with. The Japanese Empire, the Japanese as a people, have the highest resilience on the face of the earth. What changed the dynamics were 2 bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of 1945. It doesn't matter the strategy the Americans had, they were losing. Guam Island had been bombed on 7th of December 1941. Hawaii had been bombed. The entire Philippines, the entire Pacific had been conquered by the Japanese Empire. What brought an end to World War II, literally, is the 2 atomic bombs that were released in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And please don't mistake me, I don't advocate for such weapons. But the truth is, you win the war at the design stage. The Americans used superior arsenals. Now, the Japanese learned a lesson. And since 1970 to date, they have won the war of automobiles. Since 1970 to date, the Japanese models have dominated the world of vehicles. How do they do that? They have capitalized on the consumer society we have become. They know you don't want to stay with an older model of any car you have. Once they bring the next model, definitely people don't want to deal with the older model, correct? So they have won the consumer right at the design stage, the design of the product. Let me give you a very stern warning right now. In his book, The Art of War, Sun Tzu, and this is approximately 500 BC, he wrote this: invisibility comes from defense, but the possibility of victory comes from attack. Now, a good product at the design stage is a sure defense, but the only possibility of winning the battle is being in the market with the customer. You're not going to win because of your superior products. A consumer will even purchase inferior products that reach them than superior products that can't reach them. Tactic number 3, prepare for war. Great generals train more so that they bleed less. Great warriors win before they fight. Every battle is won before it's fought. Every mountain is conquered before the climb. That's the reality. Because every time you want to go to a new territory, you'll be confronted by unfamiliar giants who want to stop you from advancing your domain, who want to stop you from progressing. The moment you get into a new territory, a new industry, a new reality, you will find regulations you never saw before. You will see players and interest groups you never saw before. You will wonder where these laws were existing. So you must embrace yourself for war. They say, to be forewarned is to be forearmed. Look at your neighbor, ask them, do you think you are grounded at level 1? Just ask them. Level 2, I call it the takeoff. The takeoff. Now you realize at takeoff, there are very many actors, very many players. We can't even tell who is here. We don't know whether it's BA or Emirates or Qatar, Ethiopian KQ. So at takeoff, there is too much noise. There's a lot of vibe. There is a lot of negative energy because everybody is polluting the air. You can see that. There's a lot of gossiping. There's a lot of show-off right at that level. Did you know, scientifically speaking, the higher the altitude, the less the gravitational pull. For those of you who like scientific evidence from a physics perspective, gravitational force is an inverse proportion of r squared, where r is the distance from the center of the earth. On a serious note, G equals 1 over r squared. That's true. What are the features right there? Number 1 is crowded. Remember, there are very many players right there. Beneath the clouds are crowds. Too many players, too many actors, too much noise, too much pollution. Number 2, there is fight for recognition. Take this kindly. But when you find yourself looking for every media opportunity, you are at level 2. Do not even ask your neighbor. You are in level 2. I guarantee you. If you're always looking for an opportunity to go to the media, because the media can make or break you. When you go there without refined products, when you go in there without a clear vision, when you go there because you're looking for attention, you're in level 2. And it doesn't matter whether it's mainstream media or social media. By the way, let me even say this. If you're in social media and you have so many followers, but they cannot buy your product, they can't buy you. You can't even call them for a meeting and they come. You are a socialite. What are these followers for? Graduate from seeking attention to appearing with intention. Be intentional while you appear there. There's an MP in Kenya by the name Honorable Chris Omaro who said, if you go to a market and find a hyena and a sheep, you'll stay at the hyena, but eventually you take the sheep home. Don't always be impressed with people staring at you. Be impressed with converting them into strategic partners. Attention for the sake of it can be very destructive. Number 3, desire for overnight success. Now, people at the takeoff want to reach the blue sky overnight. So it is characterized by shortcuts, bending standards, bending the rules, half-baked products being released into the market, cutting corners, whether you are putting up a road or a building or any project. Because you want to reach the top obstacle-free, without struggles. If success were easy, who wouldn't be successful? What tactics can I propose? Number 1, test your climbing gear. Offload staff and stuff. You see, when you are starting your journey, you had carried all this baggage believing that you need all these things for your journey. Eventually, you realize when the journey begins, there's too much stuff you cannot carry. For those of you who like hiking up mountains, especially the men listening to me, always check what your wife has carried. I tell you from my own experience, women carry things because they think they need all these snacks, they need all these clothes, and if you don't check, you will be the one carrying those things. I know it. Believe me, at this particular point, you may realize you don't need a go-down for a startup business. You realize you may not need extra staff members. You can't afford idle labor. You may not even need an office for a start. You still can do that business from your own house. Check what you need and what you don't need. Take it out of your way. It's a baggage. But the biggest baggage are old relationships. You will not be able to take off with old relationships. Learn to travel light. Second feature, focus on your current battlefront. Now, a lot of people miss on the current sale because they focus on future prospects. We are preoccupied with future prospects at the expense of the current customer. SMEs in particular in Kenya, you'll find somebody with a hardware shop with a very clear notice board. In this shop, goods once sold, never returned. But if you think this is a problem of SMEs, let's transact business about major corporates right now. A banker comes to you and convinces you to buy, say, online product. You will save your money traveling, you'll save your time, you'll save your stress, you'll save your emotional downtime. You buy the concept, and one day, you definitely are in a hurry to buy an online product. Perhaps you're transferring money to an embassy, you're buying a visa, you're paying for a visa, but the bank system is down. You can't go through. And because of several trials, your card is blocked. In essence, a security measure is put, and you're the first casualty of that security measure as a customer. You make a call to the customer care. That's the natural trade. To go through the line requires the patience of a plowing ox. At the meantime, the bank's marketing machinery is heavy on the ground doing activations looking for new customers. Is that familiar? You buy an insurance cover. Somebody sells to you with a great sense of urgency until the car gets a wreck, gets into an accident. And when you go for claim, you are the first one to be investigated. Or you buy a medical cover for travel. Then unfortunately, you're out there abroad and you fall sick. Then you call your insurance agent, and the first thing you realize, you cannot use that cover. So they tell you, use your money, we're going to reimburse. But this is the very reason why I was buying a cover. I didn't want to be bothered about money that time. You go ahead and pay. Then you come back and you follow that reimbursement. It becomes your lifetime occupation. At the meantime, the sales agent are on the ground looking for the next customer. And the customer thinks, these are licensed thieves. And we can go from industry to industry. And here's my suggestion for you at the blue sky strategy. Focus on this customer as though this is the only customer you have in your lifetime. If you're invited to speak a message, focus on this message as though this is the only message you'll deliver before the Lord takes you home. If you're going for an interview, focus on this interview as though this is the only job you'll ever get. If you're going out for a date, you're a single man, single lady listening to me, focus on this one date. Even if it doesn't end up in marriage, you'll at least have enjoyed your coffee date. Rather than keeping thinking and hoping, I wish this guy says something. Just enjoy this one date. So back to the customer story. Prepare for this customer. Have your name cards right. Have your brochures, your tools of trade, and then run that presentation in your head over and over again. In your mind, much, much, much more than even on your tablet. Impress this one customer. Do not underestimate the latent potential of one satisfied customer. Greed, short-sightedness, inability to see beyond the clouds make us keep thinking about the next prospect and the next prospect. And I'm telling you, please, slow down and focus on this one customer. And that's the job I have tonight, to ensure that everyone who came here, you go home with something today, not about our next meeting or our next year's meeting. Right now, I believe with all my heart, if your inside is good, you're not going to walk out the same way you came. You see, I'm not responsible for the internal variables. Number 3, accelerate to maximum speed. Focus on thrust before you lose momentum. If you are at takeoff, you've got to put maximum gear. What's that? It means to repeat success patterns en masse. Remember here I told you to focus on this one customer. Then you repeat the same strategy using the existing channels before you hear about new channels. You see, a lot of marketers listening to me here, you are confused by new messages in the market. Before you listen to other voices, if it worked and you close that sale, use first the current existing market until you have very many followers in your ecosystem. Repeat success pattern. Rachel, if you're selling cakes and you're able to close with one customer, do it to 1,000 customers before you're convinced by another person about another strategy. Why? Then your visibility becomes clear. This country I've seen, almost all professions, somebody does a song, extremely good. That's a performance. The next time you hear of his performance is 5 years to come. The market has forgotten you. You're starting from scratch again. That's what goes on. Look at your neighbor and ask them, are you at level 2? Are you at takeoff? Let's go to level number 3. I call it the gray sky. The gray sky. It's gloomy, it's dark, it's misty. The visibility is very, very low. You can barely see. You have to depend on your compass. Your compass is your guiding spirit because you can't see any longer. That inner vision that which sees the end product, that which sees the destiny. That's what you're depending on. At this particular point in time, you've got to believe that the dot will add up someday. You've got to believe that you break through to the open heavens, to the open sky. When you're in this place, you will feel like quitting. You will doubt yourself. You will doubt the path. You will doubt the voyage. You will doubt your strategies. You will doubt your calling. You will doubt what you're doing. You will even doubt your business strategy. Extremely, right at this point. You will feel like quitting. You know, there is a point on your way to Elephant Hill at the Aberdares. They call it the point of despair. I renamed it when I was there to the point of hope. A point of no return. Because at that particular point, retreating is devastating. It can get dangerously fatal. In fact, if you retreat at this particular point in time, you will destroy your willpower to ever attempt again, to ever try again. So I suggest tonight, when it gets so dark, look for the stars. When it rains so hard, look for the rainbows. Press on with a sense of purpose and mission. Begin to believe that the dots will add up someday. Begin to believe you'll emerge to the sunshine. Unfortunately, this is the point where many people retreat and return. We have the highest drop rate at the gray sky. Now, what are the features right here? Number one is similarity. Everyone looks like everyone else. You can't tell the difference even among products until you see the label of the brand. They all look the same. When they build houses, they build the same. The doctors have the same language, and they're specialists. Organizations, banks have different products, but the same products, different companies, different labels, whether insurance companies. Drinks, the same malt, the same whatever. Similarity. You can't tell the difference between the players. Number two, there is cutthroat competition. So people resort to price cutting and discounts. People resort to lowering the standards to enhance the margins. You see, price cutting and putting things on sale is not a sustainable business strategy. You can't undercut your way to prosperity. It is not sustainable. So here we have a lot of price wars. So what a lot of organizations do at the gray sky, and if this is you, if this is your business, whether you're employed or it's your own business, and you realize that the first thing you think as an organization is lowering the price down to attract customers. If you've been discussing how to lower your prices, do not ask any further. You're operating where? At the gray sky. Number three, fatigue. People are tired and beaten. They are so beaten that you can see it on the face. And this is where the term in Kenya, hustler, comes from. They have hustled, you can see it. Do you know you can see someone who's beaten right on the face? Right on the face. Regrettably, most employers do not know how to handle their wounded soldiers. They crush their wounded soldiers. At this particular moment, they pour vitriol and their own frustrations to their employees. At this particular moment, they invoke threats and redundancies. And I want to tell you this. If you are listening to me and you're in a position of leadership, at this particular point in time, outsource consultants who can see the hope in that organization, who can help you re-engineer. You can be too beaten to inspire others. At this particular point in time, you will need inspiration that is not rhetoric. Someone who is sure about the ground reality. Someone who has facts and figures to help you revamp. And I'll propose a few tactics. And the very first one, keep the production line constant. The highest temptation at this stage is to cut down on the production line. And when you do that, your employees are the very first one to doubt what you're doing. They're the very first one to tell your customers you're closing down shop. At this particular point in time, you must be careful. Don't scale up, don't branch out, don't increase production, but keep the momentum. Just sustain the production line. Don't lower it down. Believe me, the moment you lower it down, that same employee who is there is the first one to tell the market, you're about to close down shop, you're clearing stock. And I tell you, that is the reason I came up with this. Here are some guys who are climbing a mountain, they're summiting, And when you are summiting, the gray sky is the most peaked part of the mountain. That particular point you do early in the morning. I remember when we were doing Mount Kenya this year in February, we summited from 3 o'clock in the morning. So you use the headlight and you can only see one step. You can't see beyond a step. But you go believing that you're going to summit. You go believing you're going to see the sunshine when you summit. You can only see one step, and it's okay at this particular point in time to just do one step. But keep doing just that one step. Just do it. Secondly, increase your brand visibility. Increase your brand visibility. Now, I want to go back to this picture, the gray sky, and tell you why I'm telling you to increase your brand visibility. You realize this area is gray and dark and misty. I want you to know this. While you cannot be seen, you can be heard. Do you know planes, while you can't see them in the clouds, you can still hear them? So the idea here is to ensure you increase your visibility. Ensure they see you. Engage your propaganda machinery full gear. Make the most noise. Make the enemy believe you're so near even when you're very far. Make the enemy believe you have put your art together even when it's collapsing. This is the time you have to put your best foot forward even when you're not sure what next. One day at a time. Because unless, you see, people's perception is their reality. Unless the noise is serious, they'll start believing you're collapsing. So you got to assure both the internal and the external customers that we are still moving on. And that's why the production line is on. And thirdly, re-engineer the organization. And you do this primarily by looking at 4 things. The first thing you check when you want to re-engineer an organization is your entire business model. The second thing you check is your customer base. And it might need you to recluster your target audience, to resegment your target audience. Even some products should just be for a certain segment. And the third thing you need to check is your products. You may even be bold enough, have the audacity to sell off a certain product. You can retain a few products. You may want to release not necessarily the non-performing. Sometimes you can strategically release a very performing product to get the capital that is needed to be injected back into the business. And the fourth thing you need to check is your brand. You might want to rebrand yourself altogether. And a lot of organizations at this particular point in time, they rebrand altogether. And you might want to rebrand. And every single 3 years, think about it. Even in Sense 101, this coming August, we will think about our brands again. Every single 3 years, rethink about your brand. Don't digress too much, but think whether the brand is working. Test your brand out there. Now, ask your neighbor, are you in the gray sky? By the way, if they're in the gray sky, please, please, please motivate them on my behalf and tell them, don't give up. Keep on keeping on. Now, this is the desired place, the blue sky. This is where we want to go. The blue sky is a place of clarity, a place of sunshine. The space is adequate. The players are few. At this level, the light never goes out. When the sun goes down, the stars rise up. The captain switches off the seatbelt sign. The cruisers can walk around the plane. They can take their refreshments. They can have a sound sleep. I mean, it's a place of comfort. There are no turbulences. This is the place we desire, you see? You don't even think competition because you can't even see competition in the first place. The competition is below there. You see, when you're below this level, this is the level I'm calling gray sky. You're exposed, you're vulnerable. You can even be shot by someone at the ground level. At this level, you're shielded from a lot of dangers. And this is the place we desire to take our game. I want to share with you a few features and then some tactics. The space is clear. You are now operating in a place of clarity. You know exactly what your vision is all about, and the entire economy is not second-guessing the reason for your existence. Everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows your brand. Your mission is clear to everyone. What you're about is clear to everyone. Now, if you hear people asking you to explain what you're doing in simple language, please, you're not in blue sky. Please, in simple terms, what are you doing? Then there is a serious problem. Few can fly here. The temperature is so low, the pressure is so high. The heights are life-threatening. The expectations are unequaled. The standards are incomparable. The delivery is beyond promise. Few can operate here. We call them the egos. Thirdly, individuality is revealed. At this level, copycat sees. Others can look like you, they can copy you, they can talk like you, they can quote you, but they'll never become you. At this level, your uniqueness is revealed. At this level, you're your only type on the face of the earth. Others can get your qualifications, but they can never purchase your gifts. At this level, it's a place of dominance because this gift can only be found from you. And this is the place we want to get in. And I ask you tonight, have you identified your individuality? Have you found your place? Have you found your purpose? I'm teaching this lesson twice a year here in the country. We do it twice out there. Purpose. I call it 12 hours of transformation. The beginning of success and fulfillment in life is when what you do is what you love is what you do. There's no conflict between your work and your calling. The two merge together. Number 4, the space is enough. Now, all players at the blue sky are secure. You realize that the blue sky, planes travel at maximum speed. Yet at any given moment on this planet, there are over 1,000 planes up there. But the space up there is so much that no single plane is concerned about the existence of other planes. At this space, strategic partnerships are formed. Nobody is fearing the other because only other blue sky operators are found there. And they form their own exclusive members club. People no longer come to your office just to take a cup of tea. You only tolerate strategic visits, not passers-by. Because at this point, conceptual thoughts exist. You know, small mites fight over inheritance. Small mites fight over loot and a root collected from corruption. Small mites keep on discussing what the great-grandfather left behind. A quarter of an acre and their 6 sons. But great mites explore land that is beyond the size of the earth, and they meet up there. At that level, there is maximum speed. How come? It is because you have operated in a unique space. There are no comparisons when you're determining the profits. Then you are able to plow back into the organization and scale up faster. You see, if you look at the M-Pesa business, the money they have made is so much that today's capitalization of Safaricom is more than economies like Swaziland and Burundi and Lesotho. Central Bank for a while tried to regulate M-Pesa, but then they realized if you can't beat them, join them. Please, let me tell you this for free. Never fight a war that you can't win. If there's no possibility of winning, don't engage in that war. So finally, they moved so fast because the largest company before Safaricom came to be the company that was there in Kenya was actually East Africa Breweries. But look at what's going on. Because of the individuality, a concept that never existed on the face of the earth before. So you're able to travel at a very high speed. What are the tactics here? First, identify and operate above your blue line. What's that? Your differential factor. Not how superior you are from the rest, but how different you are from the rest. You are paid for your individuality. The reason people will look for you is your uniqueness. The first thing people ask, whenever they are buying any product or any service, what's new? What's different? Even some of you came here for the very first time to check out what's different. And unless you find what is different, you won't come back again. That's the truth about all consumers. What they're looking for is not how superior you are. What you're looking for is what's different, what's new. You see, if we are 4 of us in the jungle and we are confronted by a wild tiger, a hungry wild tiger, I don't need to be the fastest amongst us to reach home alive. I only need to outrun the slowest amongst us. I may arrive home alive, but that doesn't mean that I qualify for the national sprinting competition because perhaps all my colleagues were tortoises. If then I discover I'm the tortoise in the team, then I need to employ a different strategy to deal with the tiger. And the reality is, each one of you here is more endowed than the tiger. The tiger might be physically stronger and faster. But I talked about 6 mental faculties in our meeting last month. And definitely, you are more endowed than the tiger. I know it, because in April, when we went to Thailand, we played with the tigers, demonstrating the mastery of man over beast. So there is something you can do if you don't have speed advantage over the tiger. And that's what you need to identify. What is this? That it's only available from you. No one else can do it like you. It can be found elsewhere. Can you trust God that you can monetize that? That can feed you. You can run with that and stop envying other people's gifts. That's the question I want to ask you. You see, you can all be lawyers, but I may be better as a criminal lawyer. Because besides our training, I'm better in those investigations. And you can be better as a constitutional lawyer because you like making a lot of noise. The truth is, even if we have the same training, you can focus on what you're good at. Secondly, wave the victory flag. What does that mean? Blood everywhere. Your name. Be the music in the streets. Be the agenda in every home. No one has done this better in this country, like the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. He has said the agenda timing, year in, year out. Love him, hate him, that's your problem. You can't ignore him. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Just make sure you cannot be ignored. Number 3, set the rules of the game. Remember, you reached the blue sky level when there were no government regulations because there are no other players. So you are the one who is going to determine the standards and the rules of engagement. And I'm serious. For those of you who are members of Sense 101 Life Club, the lawyers in our midst help us to write these rules, to go ahead of the game and legislate this industry. Because definitely the government will legislate it. I think you've seen of late the government trying to legislate how church does business and taxation, correct? And that will happen, even with these public forums. And the idea is this: when you reach the blue sky level ahead of the others, then you've got to be careful how you're drawing the rules of the game. Lastly, raise others. Now, if you're the blue sky, mentor others. The higher you raise others, the higher you fly. If you're the blue sky, you have no business bullying others. Bullying others is lowering your own standard. By bullying others, you're stooping so low to the gray area. And the more people you mentor, the more people you coach, the more people you raise, the more people you share the information you have that made you succeed, the higher you go up. Unfortunately, in Africa, Africans do not believe in sharing the success, the reasons, the secrets of success. Africans believe that this is only for my son. And believe me, when the economy is weak, you don't go anywhere. You see, one of the things the Japanese did, they formed an organization they called JICA. And they began to take students to Japan. JICA in particular, they took a lot of students right there. And what they were trying to do is this, is to empower their future consumers. Because if nobody will have the buying power, and I think Dr. James Mwangi is very good in this, in thinking about who is going to be my customer 20 years to come. Can I take them to school? Because if you don't think that way, you are still in the gray sky. Raise others. The higher you go up. And this takes me to level 5 and the last one. I call it disruption. You see, blue sky is not a permanent residence. Unless something is done, you are likely to go back to the gray area. Why? Because there are some players who are going to emerge from the gray sky and others will rocket straight from ground level and come right where you are and make the area murky. Unless you continuously reinvent yourself, recreate yourself, you're going to find yourself going back to the gray sky. You disrupt yourself when you're in this level we call plateau. How do you know you're plateaued? You know you've plateaued if, number one, there are no new ideas you're bringing in the market. There's no creativity, there's no innovation, there's nothing new you're suggesting to us. I don't think I've tried to live the last 7 years without introducing a new concept every single year. And that's why this year we introduced Dr. Kenyajunganga Speakers Award. When we tried 2 years ago to introduce the cruises, a lot of people were very skeptical. because they're expensive. Truth be told, flying out is expensive. And of course, what happens with time, people start warming up to you. Today, we have a partnership with YouTube and Amazon. And this is the thing I'm asking you. If there's nothing new you are bringing, then definitely you plateaued. Secondly, if you're fearing change, you're now the monster that wants to maintain the status quo, you plateaued. You need to disrupt yourself. Thirdly, if everything is under control, you have no bank loan. By the way, for those of you who have zero loans, you have plateaued. You have reached a place of comfort. And you shouldn't be doing that before you're 70. You should always be growing to the next level. You see, your current safe boundaries were once unknown frontiers. I encourage you to dare go to the open pride lines and deal with the new dangers. But don't stay in a shop where everything is under control. If it's under control, that's the time to branch out. Scale up. You're doing maintenance. If everything is totally under control. If you're in this meeting and you're so comfortable because there's nothing that is going astray, you're the person I'm describing. But if you're on your toes to deal with many realities after this, then we are talking business. So if you think you're the only one with issues, you're in the right club. You're in the club of growth. You'd rather even do something weird, like changing a car, just to challenge yourself. Changing your home, but just change something. You know, there are people when they get a home somewhere in Kayole, they will die there. Sasa walifika, walipata nyumba. Disrupt, sell it. Or give it to your grandmother. But do something to disrupt yourself. Now, number 4, if you begin to focus on yesterday, if what you did yesterday is too big for you, you are singing about your achievements of April and December last year, then you've plateaued. You must be occupied with the vision, with the future. Remember, the Bible only allows old men to dream dreams. Young men and women are supposed to see visions. Vision is forward-looking. If you're always dreaming, you are too old. You should be focusing on tomorrow, not what you achieved yesterday, because what you achieved is no longer a challenge for you. If it's too big for you, you've plateaued. Finally, number 5, if there are new entrants into your space, you plateaued. If there are new sheriffs, you find new players who have the same magnitude, the same influence, just like you, then you plateaued. You see, since the industrial age, for many years, companies made profits by controlling the entire value chain, And they were rewarded for economies of scale. The internet economy disrupted that power dynamic. Today, if you're going to go anywhere, mark this one word: speed. It's no longer controlling the value chain. It's no longer about economies of scale. It's speed. One day, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, are having a cup of tea together in a meeting where the consultant was Brian Tracy. And over tea time, Brian Tracy asked them the secret of building such vast business empires. What's your secret? Without a second thought, they unanimously said one word: focus. He asked them the second thing, and they said one word: speed. Speed of implementation, thinking on the feet. If you've been listening to me for a considerable time, you know I like saying you'd rather be a hot mess in action than a perfectly organized coward. Because whenever you are a mess, people will come and bring some order. There was a mess in Genesis 1:1, and God spoke order into it. You'd rather be a mess, but you're moving. So when new entrants come in, they are telling you you've plateaued. At this particular point in time, I suggest strongly disrupt yourself. Kill the sacred cow. Borrow a leaf from the philosophy of Facebook of innovation. This is what Mark Zuckerberg has declared for Facebook. If we don't invent the one who is going to kill Facebook, someone else will. We must be the people who are going to invent what is going to kill Facebook. What's that? Disruption. Let me ask you whether this is familiar. Let me just show you some major disruptions and tell me whether this is familiar. Let's check. How many use dictionaries these days? What do you use? Mr. Google, correct? Would you remember something called Encyclopedia Britannica? After 244 years, they caved into Wikipedia. Amazon.com now is challenging publishers. Can I ask you a question before I continue? Which is the largest bank in Kenya? Talk to me. Equity, another one? KCB. And I agree. Equity is the largest by numbers, KCB by asset, but the truth is, she got it. M-Pesa is the largest bank in Kenya. It's not a question of your branches or your people. It's the bottom line. So here it is. And you see, the argument we had with the CBK, with the central bank, is whether these guys should be regulated. And they realized they were too big to argue with them. So we'd rather join them. Can you imagine? 15 billion transacted every day, 42% of our GDP pushed through M-Pesa. Kodak. If you grew up in my village, there used to be a camera guy who used to come on Christmas. And he used to give us the pictures in April. And he's the only guy who had a nice bicycle. You remember? Then you're from my village. And this was one of the top 5 brands on the planet. Today, digital photography has kicked away film. Look at this. Now, I saw some guys who've been selling this thing for the last 2-3 years, and I say this is a very powerful concept for the 1990s. Unless they have another agenda besides business, I'm sympathizing with People's Daily. Because by the time they publish, it's already history. By the time they give us the news 9 o'clock, it's already history. You've already seen it. This is an idea of our grandfathers. Now, this was for CEOs. Can you remember this? The BlackBerry. The who is who in the country. The BlackBerry. And they were convinced that you always need a keypad for a phone until they were kicked away by Apple. Steve Jobs showed them the door. By the way, the BlackBerry right now is as good as dead. I regret to tell you the story of redundancy will never be mentioned in Kenya without transacting this business. What about? We will never discuss about obsoleteness. If you exist for these examples. Do you know, I tried to escape this story. I can't. They were busy putting telephone posts when the world had moved mobile phony. They had the advantage of the infrastructure. By the way, to date, Safaricom doesn't even have buildings. Telcom had all these buildings. They had the advantage of the goodwill, the government support. And that might happen to Bible translation, Bible Society of Kenya, because today we have softwares for translations that are doing it in real time. If they don't rethink it, it will become a museum. Personally, I've used this facility in Washington, D.C. And I can tell you, they are giving a challenge to traditional hotels. You agree with me? You're going out, say for 3 weeks, and you leave your house, you're better off with someone there rather than hiring somebody you're paying to take care of your security, and the fellow who is coming is actually even paying you as you go on holiday. Then you go pay the other one on the other side. DJs are on their way out because softwares are mixing the music. If your child is following this career, tell them to think of how they can re-innovate it. As it is, this is a very challenged career. Now, I don't know whether you can remember the old-time tapes for videos. And I don't think they exist. Our kids may not even know what that is all about. And this thing has even challenged TV. LinkedIn is kicking away HR organizations. Those of you who are in HR, unless you digitalize it, then people have both employers and employees have a platform where they can exchange contacts faster. And they eliminate the cost of these brokers. And the good thing with this, there's no corruption. Can you imagine people who are still buying cars to do taxi business in Kenya? We have cleaner cars, more professional drivers. And the owner of Uber doesn't own even a single car. These are very smart boys. This is a business today. If you're honestly believing that you're going to buy taxis for business, you need to rethink again because you're in history. We also need to rethink whether we should be teaching you right here. We need to find out whether there's a way I can be teaching you from home. And we've been discussing about it. By the way, we've tried this 3 times. And once this works, we are still trying to get the right equipment. Maybe you don't need to come and park here. We are already doing it. We have already rolled out over 10 programs, e-learning, that are in the mass market. And a lot of organizations have also signed up for them. We are already doing this. But we still think we can do the same training you're listening right here from the comfort of your home as you fix dinner. Correct? And some universities, I missed one in February that had asked me to go But I think I'll be doing the same thing again next year, February, with them. But I'll be speaking in one university. They'll be listening from at least 20 other campuses from the place where I'll be teaching. What have I been telling you tonight? Let's check. This is what I'm telling you. If I was to draw a graph of performance and time, what is Blue Sky strategy all about? The first level is what I'm calling the ground level. What you need to go home tonight with is what could be keeping you grounded. What could be keeping you at the same place. That's what I'm calling the ground level. Could you still be here? Are you ready to overcome the force of gravity that keeps you grounded? The second level we discussed tonight is the takeoff. This is the plight of the majority, the home of the destitute majority. Most people die wanting to do something. The wannabe entrepreneurs, the wannabe employers, the wannabe. I pray tonight you're not going to leave this hall when you're still in the class of the wannabe. The third level is what I called the gray sky. It can get dark and gray and gloomy and misty. This is the place of despair for many. It's at that particular point in time you've got to encourage yourself and call it the place of hope. Because once you overcome that, you cross the blue line, you get into what I'm calling the blue sky, where the eagles fly. And this is the blue line, where you cross from the crowds. At that particular point, there's something here I'm calling disruption. You need to check keenly. If you don't disrupt yourself, someone else will disrupt you. The forces of change will disrupt you. Sometimes it will require you to look at yourself, to look at your professional work, to look at your business from an outsider's perspective, with an outsider's eye view. Just like in a football field. Sometimes you've got to look from an outsider's eye view to know what is disrupting the game. There are many times when you're in the game, you can't know what is disrupting you. That's why you need to listen even the dissenting voices. Wisdom will come from the unlikeliest sources. The harshest critics may be the people who will help you to disrupt yourself. So listen even to the voice of the naysayers at that particular point in time. If you manage to disrupt yourself, you're going to begin to shape the future. You're going to be the one determining how the future looks like. If you do not disrupt yourself, you're going to be rendered obsolete and irrelevant. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I'm calling the blue sky strategy. Now let me suggest this. Shoot for the stars. The space out there is infinite. The space out there is not just adequate for you, but even our combined dreams, our synergistic dreams, totally the entire humanity together, we cannot exploit the space out there. It's more than enough for each one of us. If you fail to build your dream, someone else will use your hands to build their dreams. Thank you, and God bless you.